I want to give all honor, praises, and glory to the Most High Yahweh, also truly black Messiah, the King of Kings, royalty himself, Yahweh Shah, Amashiach. Also the founder father of this true fighter, One West. This fallen kings come right back at you another lesson. I'm going to let this video play. The name of this lesson is going to be Trillions was made by the way of the slave trade. And it's going to show you how America created the ghetto system.
Black poverty, and that's by design. The story of what housing and other living conditions look like for many Black Americans is pretty bleak, and that's by design. In addition to artists cataloging their very personal experiences, it's been proven that the modern phenomenon of concentrated Black poverty was an intentional government-sponsored institution. This is in part why President Biden issued an executive order back in January, intended to right the historical wrongs Black folks have faced when it comes to housing and home ownership in this country. To right the historical wrongs Black folks have faced when it comes to housing and home ownership in this country. But first, let's take it back.
The dawn of the 20th century, African Americans in major cities lived scattered throughout the city. They weren't segregated particularly. It's only with the Great Migration of 6 to 7 million African Americans north and west escaping the South, the predominant response of the United States government and state and local governments to the Great Migration was to contain Black people in their own neighborhoods. And HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, was particularly a part of this role. With the precursors to HUD, introduced and encouraged racially restrictive covenants, redlining of every major city where African Americans landed. The federal government was a sponsor of urban renewal, infamously called Negro removal by the great James Baldwin.
Urban renewal, which means moving the Negroes out. It means Negro removal. That is what it means. And the federal government is an accomplice to this fact.
That so-called urban renewal also included a federally sponsored interstate highway system, which was intentionally designed to mow through vibrant Black neighborhoods. Take Miami, for example. Two highways, I-95 and I-395, bulldoze right through the predominantly Black and low-income Overtown neighborhood, previously called Colored Town during segregation.
The Department of Housing and Urban Development and the federal government writ large in the first 7 decades of the 20th century invested billions of dollars in racial segregation and concentrated poverty. Each time this country created a peculiar institution.
Yeah. So you seen they created the ghettos. They created the conditions that our people is in today. And the name of this class is Trillions was made by the way of the slave trade, because all the land that you see today, you see the brother right now that's plowing the land. All the land you see now, like the whole world economy, like the farming system, the corns, like the corn mill. You had the cotton gin. You had cotton. Before the cotton gin was created, you had cotton. You had slaves that worked that land. So what they was doing was keeping us there to keep their economy going, while they venture off and expand to luxurious places, while keeping our people held down to be farmers and field workers. In those places where the land became ghettos, because that's where you have a shack. You have a shack with all. You go down south, you can see a shack where it's a lot of land. That was the old farmers, because the old farmers was working and building and piling that land, and they was still stuck as being farmers, and then they moved into the city, and they was what would be called a low class citizen, and was stuck in ghettos. And it's just ghettos is nothing but just majority of farmers who came together in the neighborhood that's oppressed by the so-called white man, which is the nation of Edom. But this is a very hairy topic because they created the poverty. They created the ghetto. You know what I mean? And they spent billions of dollars, but it's trillion because the whole slave trade made this whole economy for what it is today. You know what I mean? I'm gonna get a scripture real quick. It's Jeremiah 22, verse 13. Woe to him that buildeth his house by unrighteousness, meaning what's the unrighteousness? Slavery. And his chambers by wrong, that useth his neighbor's servant without wages, and giving him not for his work. And that's what you see now. You see the world economy that's built today, and Jake get none of the benefits, even inventions, all the stuff you see today. So trillions was made by the way of the slave trade. But I'm saying, like, the land that we see now in down south, a lot of that stuff was, all that extra land was old land from slavery, where old farmers went there to grow, their crops, and they couldn't survive that, and they moved to the upper city, and they got trapped into the ghettos. You know what I mean? And that's a system that within itself, that's the reason why I made this video, because trillion was made by the way of the slave trade. And you can see the ghetto system, the project system was orchestrated by Esau Edom. Let me get another scripture real quick. This is the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verse 28. Remove not the ancient landmark which thy fathers have set. And what did Esau do? He removed the ancient landmarks by way of slavery. By the way of the slave trade, he moved the tribe of Gad, which is considered the northern kingdom, which is consists of the Latinos, Native American. That's the northern kingdom. And he put Judah, which was the southern kingdom, which was consists of the so-called African American, to help build this land. And he traded the landmarks, and that's a sin within itself. I hope this lesson was very edifying. I'll probably do another lesson reflecting this topic. I want to give all honor, praises, and glory to the Most High Yahweh, also truly Black Messiah, the King of Kings, royalty himself, Yahweh Shah, Amashiach, also the final Father, true Father, one West. All the kings come back at you another lesson. Father, not forgotten. Shalom.